Hey everybody, it's Tony from Adafruit, and I wanted to do a little project, something fun I wanted to build, and I figured I'd just kind of turn the camera on and we'd see if we can put it together. Oh, that's kind of fun. So see if we can build a neat little scene switcher for Wirecast, and I'll show you why this is interesting. So I'll show you how I do this live stream, and we can look at the software I'm using called Wirecast. And it's pretty complicated. It's almost like, I don't know, maybe not as complicated as operating a space shuttle, but there's all kinds of little things to deal with in Wirecast. So I wanted to see if I could make a thing like a set of buttons where I could press a button to change the scene. And I'll show you what I've got so far. So maybe just to start with, let's look at the desktop view. So we'll just go to the full desktop. So you can see like right here, this is Wirecast. And so this is kind of the main program that I'm using to run this stream, and it's pretty advanced. It's got all all these cool features and things. It can do a lot of stuff, but unfortunately, it's the more stuff it can do, the more complicated things get. And so the way things work as far as how I can change scenes, down here I have different scenes that are like different inputs. So like for example, here's the camera on my face, and so if I click this to go, then you see it changes to this view. And I can go back and switch back to my desktop view, and you can fade back in between these. Or if I want to go to like the workbench view and maybe we want to do like a fast cut to it, you can do that. Or I can go to like a little hybrid kind of desktop view like this. And then I can turn on in the corners different views. So like, here's the bench and the head. And so we can turn those on up here. So you get kind of the full effect here. But you can see there's a lot of stuff going on here, like you have to know which scene you want to select, move between the scenes. So it's kind of annoying because it's just me running this. So, I've got to do Wirecast, I've got to do the project that I'm working on at the same time. So it's a little bit crazy, a little bit hectic. So I was thinking, let's look at something like this. So in the corner up here, this is Trellis, which is a neat little product from Adafruit. Let's see, let me move Wirecast out of the way. So we'll come back to this. So this is a Trellis board that I have set up here, and over on the left here you can see this is the guide on Trellis. And so it's neat. It's just a little 4x4 elastomer keypad. So like this little cover comes off, and these are just LEDs that are soldered on here. I have blue LEDs on this Trellis, but you can put any color LEDs on. And then this keypad, so it's it's just like plastic, and it goes on top of the LEDs, and they actually turn into buttons. So if I press something, you can see it turns on the LED there, so I can go through and kind of press different buttons and turn things on and off here. So it's a neat little controller. Like you might imagine like a music sequencer. You could use this to set up like what music you want to play. The other cool feature of Trellis is that you can actually chain them together. So like this shows 4 Trellis boards, so you get like a 16 by 16 grid of buttons and lights and things here. And it all just communicates over the I2C bus, so it's pretty straightforward to talk to the device. I have it connected to an Arduino Leonardo here, which is pretty similar to the Uno, but it's got a nice feature in that it can act like a USB host, or a USB device rather. So it can look like a keyboard or a mouse. And Arduino actually has a really easy to use library for this. So what I was thinking is, okay, I can take this Trellis and program some of these buttons so that when I press a button, I can have it send a key press, act like a keyboard, send a key press, and then in Wirecast it has a whole bunch of keyboard shortcuts that you can program. And it's not super flexible. I was just looking at it, and I wish I could just define per shot explicit key shortcuts, but they kind of limit you. It looks like you can pick like one of the number pad keys, but I think we can still make this work. Like there's only maybe 6 or so shots that I need to set up with this to make it work. So that's what I wanted to do, and I've already kind of started. So one thing is Noah and Pedro have a great little guide on 3D printing an enclosure for Trellis, and so that's what I've done up here also. So I've just 3D printed, this is the top plate for it. There's a case here that the Arduino is inside of, and then a little frame that holds kind of the Trellis board here. So I've just followed the guide here, and when this video goes up on YouTube, I'll put links in the description that go to both these guides here. Really easy. So I just printed this on kind of behind me back here. That's a printer bought simple metal that I just have on a shelf back there. So real kind of basic entry-level 3D printer, but that's all you need to print something like this, and got really nice results with it. So like it's got good tolerances, so everything fits pretty well. I don't have it bolted in. I realize I don't have the right size machine screws to make it work, but it's fine. We'll just kind of build this as like the prototype and go from there. So, because one thing that I think would be interesting too, so this is only going to be like a switcher that tells the computer to do something. It's going to generate key presses. I'd love to also get some feedback so that it could light up and say exactly which scene I'm on. So, if I change scenes, have it light up and say, okay, now you're on, the main desktop scene. And, if you change, maybe it changes, different light comes on if you switch to like the main headshot scene. And I was looking around and it looks like with Wirecast, it has an Apple script. So I'm on Mac. It has an Apple script interface. So like you can talk to Wirecast and tell it like change scenes. And I assume that I can probably ask it things like, what scene are you on right now? And then, my AppleScript program could take that data and then maybe talk to the Arduino and say, okay, now turn on this LED. But I'm not going to get that advanced because I'm not really familiar with AppleScript. I took a brief look at it and it looks like a whole new world of fun and excitement to learn about. So maybe I won't get there yet, but maybe in a future video. I want to look and see if there's like maybe there's like a bridge between Python and AppleScript. That might make it a little bit easier because, then I could have a little Python script that runs and listens for like the Trellis key presses and then maybe tells Wirecast, okay, change to this scene, and then reads the state from Wirecast to say, okay, what scene are you on? And does things like that. So eventually maybe I'll try that. But for now, I think just doing key presses will be easy enough. So, okay, so let's look at the code for this so far. So I'm just running basically in Arduino here the Trellis test sketch. And so this sketch, and I'll load it up on the Arduino again. So let me just reset and then click upload again. Because you'll see it'll start up and then it'll light up each of the Trellis lights. So you can see it kind of goes through a little animation. And now it's in a mode where I have to press buttons to turn on LEDs, and then I can press to turn them off for that. So it's pretty straightforward and easy to kind of follow that. And so I'll look through the code. It's been a while. I haven't looked through the Trellis library in a while, so I'm just going to have to relearn how to use it. But it doesn't look like it's too complicated. So it looks like basically you create a matrix object, and so because you can have multiple matrices, you might need to define multiples here. Luckily, I only have one matrix I need to care about. And actually, maybe how about let's save this as a new sketch to get started. So we'll say Trellis Wirecast switcher. Okay, so we'll save this. So now I can just kind of edit this as I go. So I'm never going to use more than one, so I'm just going to delete this reference. And then once you have a matrix, then you create a Trellis set, which ties together multiple matrices. In this case, I've only got one matrix, so I don't really need the extra code there. So how many trellises? It looks like the code for this sketch just lets you define because it needs to know how many keys. I'll leave this in for now, and then maybe I might pull it out a little bit. And then we define, okay, how many keys do we have just based on the number of trellises times 16, because we need to loop through all these to light them up. So the trellis, it is connected through I2C, so there's the clock, the data line, 5-volt power, ground, and then there's also an interrupt pin, which is basically when a button press happens, it can change the interrupt pin, and your Arduino can detect that and say, okay, something changed, and run some logic. So I've changed mine. I'm just using the A2 pin like it has in the sketch here, so I'll keep that for now. I'll just delete some of the comments just to simplify the sketch code here so far. So okay, so we start up and we do a little bit of serial printing just to initialize. We initialize the interrupt pin as a input with a pull-up resistor. I'm actually going to change this to input pull-up. It's just a new, oh boy, hit the end key. It's one annoying thing in Mac OS X. The end key doesn't work like end in every program, or it doesn't take you to the end of the line, so I'm always messing this up sometimes. But yeah, this was a difference in later versions of Arduino. In early versions, you had to do an input and then do a write to a high level to enable the pull-up resistor. But nowadays, you can just directly in the pin mode function say, I want this as an input with the pull-up resistor enabled. So we'll simplify that. The begin, so this just initializes the Trellis library. This is passing in also the I2C address of the device, and I'm using the default one, so we'll just keep this. But you might have, for each of those Trellis matrices, each one has to have a unique address. So I'm just going to delete this since I know I only have one of these devices. Okay, so now in the code it goes through and actually lights up each of the keys in order. So you kind of saw when I first started this, it started from the bottom corner here and then went up and lit them all up and waited for a second and then just turned them all off. So I mean, this is maybe a good point to see. So here's how I can change the LEDs. I just call Trellis set LED. So it's 4x4, so that means there's 16 LEDs. So 0 to 15 is what I can send in here. And then I have to call write display to actually update the LEDs here. So just to make sure I know what's happening and I know how this thing is oriented, maybe in my setup, let's just turn on like LED, how about 0 and 15? So I should be able to see like the first and the last LED. So let's do set LED 0 and then set LED 15. So we'll turn those both on and then maybe we'll do write display on there. So okay, so we'll keep that. Maybe I'll delete all of this code. So okay, that seems like an easy enough setup. Now in the loop, so let's see, it looks like we wait 30 milliseconds, and I'm guessing this is probably so that the because it mentions here don't remove me, so I'll leave this in. I'm not sure exactly why we have this, but we'll come back and check this. So okay, so it has this mode concept where you can either be in a momentary mode or a latching mode. So the latching mode, I'm assuming, is like if it detects a key was pressed, then it'll remember that until you check and see, you know, was there a key pressed. Whereas the momentary mode, I'm guessing you constantly have to call and say, okay, you know, what's the state of this button? Has it been pressed? Has it not been pressed? I was thinking I probably just need the latching mode, but let's kind of read through these and see how they work. So in the momentary mode, it looks like we call the read switches function, and then we go through and the formatting got a little messed up here, so let's kind of reformat this so it's a little more readable. But it looks like you go through and then you call a just pressed function to see if each of the keys was just pressed, like you just pressed down on it. And then there's also a just released function that you can call to check and see if a key was just released. And so that's kind of handy to see, okay, you know, maybe I'm going to wait until you let go to do some logic here. So in this case, it looks like when something's pressed, we print out V, like a down, and then the number of the key. And then we also set that LED versus when it's released, we put a caret, like an up, and then print out the number that was printed and clear that LED. So, and then we just write the display after here. So that's the momentary mode. And then the latching mode, let's look at this one real quick. So it looks like we call read switches still, and then we go through and we're still calling the just pressed function. And let's see, let's fix this formatting a little bit. So we'll move these all over. And it looks like, okay, so it looks like the latching logic is really just in the sketch itself. It's not actually in the library. So we're really still just using like the just pressed, just released function. So okay, so we call read switches, we go through each of the keys, we see if it was just pressed, we print it out, and then we're basically just checking to see, is the LED turned on? If it's turned on, then clear it. Otherwise, if it's turned off, then set that LED and turn it back on. So in this case, like we're just looking at, you know, when you press a button, it's going to permanently change the state of that LED, versus the latching, the momentary mode, it looks like it only lights up as you press it. So okay, so that's kind of cool. I mean, it looks like the basic usage of the library is you want to call read switches, that'll update all the internal state, and then you want to go through each of the buttons and see, okay, which one was just pressed, which one was just released, and run whatever logic you want here. So I think right now it's in the latching mode, so let's put it into momentary mode and kind of see what happens. And we should also see the change in the setup that I made, where we should turn on the 0 and 15 LEDs when it starts up. So let me reset and then upload. And the reason I'm resetting the board is because I'm running OS X El Capitan, and it's got this weird quirk with USB devices where you basically you need to reset the Arduino or else it gets confused and it can't do the automatic upload. So it's hopefully, I don't know if it's a bug on the Apple side or, you know, maybe something that we need to learn to deal with. But okay, so this is cool. So the setup ran, and it looks like, you know, this one's probably 0, this one's probably 15 up here. So I'm guessing it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, up up and down like that. So that's good to know. And then let's see. So now I'm in the momentary mode. So when I press something, so it looks like it's lighting up. You can kind of see when I release, it turns off. So okay, so that's working how I expect. You know, basically that momentary mode works like that. So that's kind of cool. I don't think I really need this for my key press thing though, because you know I really only care like when you release a button, you know, you've activated it at that point. So you know, this momentary code, I'm just going to pull this out because I don't really need this mode. It looks like, you know, latching mode is kind of what I'm going to do for this. And actually, let's just pull out the check entirely. So it's just permanently going to be in the latching mode. And let's see if I can pull this. There we go. So just fix that spacing. So okay, so now we'll keep it in latching mode, and let's get rid of the latching defines and things like that up here because we're not actually using them anymore. So okay, so now I've basically permanently changed it. So now every time I press something, it's going to print out and alternate the LEDs. Instead of doing pressed, let's do just released because I want to check, you know, once I press and then release, then I want to actually activate this. So let's push this sketch to the Arduino, and maybe I'll open the serial monitor also right after this, and we should be able to see the serial output. So if I do serial monitor and 9600 baud, now we should see, in theory, when I press something, and now when I release it, so there we go, V6, that told me that button number 6 was pressed, and that looks like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so yeah, that's button number 6. And like if I go right below it, that's 5 and 4, so that's cool. Okay, so everything's kind of working the way I expect there. So now I need to maybe think about how I want to do the key presses here. So let's go back to the full desktop view so we can kind of see, oops, and let me blank out these views here. So okay, so back to Wirecast again. Now from what I understand, the way you can set a keyboard shortcut, so you can pick a shot, like let's say this main headshot here, and I can assign it a keyboard shortcut like 1 to this, and then after a second, this little 1 appears right here. Now, when I have Wirecast activated like this, if I press 1, then it's going to select the headshot, and nothing really changed. Like this green little indicator means that it's kind of queued up and it's ready to switch to this scene, but I have to actually like press this arrow here to do the change. So like if I go to this desktop view, if I click this, then now that's green. But let's see, I'm going to press 1 on the keyboard, and let's see what happens on here. So okay, so now the head was just selected. Interesting that this is still selected. I don't know why. Maybe that's a bug in Wirecast. So now in theory, if I press this button, the go button, this should actually do a cut, and actually I can tell it instead to do a smooth transition. So let's see, it should go back to the headshot. So okay, yeah, so looks like it's working. So I'll go back to the desktop view. We'll do a transition there. So okay, so what I need to do now is basically, you know, what I want to have are some keyboard shortcuts on the main shots down here, like the headshot, the kind of half desktop view. You know, let's give this a shortcut of 2. The workbench, we'll give this a shortcut of 3. The full desktop view here, maybe let's do this shortcut of 4. And then the other thing are the kind of little extra shots I have. So up above, like the bench in the corner, so if I turn this on, you can kind of see it goes up in the corner. Let's give this a keyboard shortcut of 5. Now I also want to be able to turn this shot off sometimes. And I was looking, and unfortunately, there's no like blank shot shortcut key in Wirecast that I saw. So, and I saw in their forums, like someone, their tech support basically said, well, just make a blank shot, and then you can actually give that a key, a shortcut key. So that's what I did here. So I made a blank shot. So if I make this 6, now if I go to this blank, and if I say go, it gets rid of that scene in the corner up there. So, you know, I can press 5, and that's going to, in theory, it should, let's see, well, I pressed 5, I didn't see anything happen, so let's see, let's try that. Oh, no, let's just hit go. Okay, I think it worked. For some reason, their UI doesn't update down here. It looks like that's probably a bug in Wirecast. Okay, so I pressed 5, and then I pressed the go button. The other thing I found is they actually have a keyboard shortcut. If you press enter, I think it does the left action, the cut action. You can actually change this. And if you press space, I think it does the right button action. And you can change this, but it's normally like a smooth transition. So in theory, if I press 6, then that should have selected this blank one. And if I press space, let's see what that does. So it looks like that faded it out. Now if I press 5, this should have selected the bench shot in the corner to come on. And if I press enter, it should just cut and immediately turn on. So okay, yeah, so that's cool. At least this, it looks like it's working. I just see, for testing you can turn on auto live. Yeah, that is another option. They've got this auto live switch you can turn on, where basically now if I press 6, it immediately turns off. If I press 5, it immediately turns on for this. But I was kind of thinking I'm going to actually add to the trellis. I was thinking the top row, maybe like the rightmost one, I'll make the rightmost action here, like the smooth, which I think is enter. Let me just double check that. So if I press enter, nope, that's space actually. I think it's space. Maybe not. It was one of those. Let's try this again. So if I do number 5, because I have auto live on, I need to turn auto live off. So let's turn that off. Okay, yeah, thank you for telling me. Don't tell me again. So now in theory, when I press 6, if I press enter, let's see if this fades or cuts. So that cut. So enter is the left button. So for this rightmost one, if I make this a space bar, and let me turn back on the bench shot so you can see this. If I make this rightmost one the space bar and the leftmost one the enter switch, then that'll let me cut and smoothly transition between scenes. And then below this, I think the next row I was thinking I would make maybe the leftmost shot this blank one, number 6, because normally to clear this I would just select this blank one over here, but like if I right click, it doesn't actually let you assign a key press, a shortcut to this, so my workaround is to make a blank shot. But anyways, the leftmost one I'll make it blank, then the one next to it I'll make select the bench, so basically send a 5 key press. Then the row below that I'll do for the headshot, so like this little corner headshot. So if I turn this on, you can see I'm down here in the corner. And then same thing for blanking it out. I can use the blank shot that I created here. And actually, let me give these key shortcuts. So we'll do 7 and 8 for this. So do that. So, and now one only annoying thing is, I'm kind of limited. Like you've only got 10 shortcut keys you can use here. So I remember with OBS, I've used that software, and it seems to be better than Wirecast in that like it has a whole shortcut menu where you can explicitly define, every single shot I want a special shortcut for. Whereas with Wirecast, for whatever reason, they give you 10 and that's it. Good luck. Make do with that. But in theory, I guess if you have more than 10 shots, you're probably getting pretty advanced. So I don't know, just something to be aware of. And I think maybe if I did an AppleScript thing, I could actually make it change to more than 10 shots, but I'm not sure about that. So anyways, let's see. Okay, so I've got all my shots with the shortcuts here enabled. So let's go back to kind of the desktop view. Let's see, we'll turn both these on. So, okay, and then let's go back in and just kind of work on this sketch. So, basically maybe I'll start with, if I press this upper one up here, I want this to be the enter key, and then the right one to be the spacebar key. And as far as the lights go, I'm kind of thinking like, maybe I'll just, for each row, I'll have it like turn on, the last pressed light. So it's not synced up with Wirecast, but at least kind of gives me a rough idea of what's going on with it. So, okay, so let's go in and start doing some of this logic. So to start with, first I'm just going to have it turn off every LED. So let's just loop through all of the LEDs. Let's see, what was that define called? Num keys. Sure, I'll keep using this. So let's go through all the keys. And let's just do trellis.clear LED, I think was what we could call. And then at the end, let's just do trellis right display. So, okay, so that should turn off all the LEDs after I start. Now for my main function here. So I'm not going to actually go through each of the keys. So let's just kind of comment all these out. We'll keep it handy here because there's certain keys I want to check explicitly as I start doing some of this code. So, okay, so let's just save this. And actually, let's just put in a check now. So I know I need to call read switches, but now I want to call just released, And it looks like 0, 1, 2, 3. So button number 3 is the upper left corner. So let's check for upper left corner, which should be enter key, the left shot transition / go live. So let's look at if trellis just released, and that's number 3. So okay, so if it was pressed, so I want to turn on that LED. So I want to do trellis.set LED. I think it was set LED, number 3. And then I also want to clear all the other LEDs in this row. So let's see, it looks like that would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 3, 7, 11, and then 15. So I want to turn off the others. So let's do trellis.clear LED. Let's do 7, trellis.clear LED 11, and then trellis.clear LED 15. Then I need to write the display to actually update it. So trellis.write display. And then let's just do a serial print to say, okay, you know, the enter key was pressed, and we'll come back and add that logic in a second. So let's do serial.println enter key pressed. And then let's do the same logic for the key 15, which should be the spacebar key. So let's actually, I can just copy this and tweak some of the code for this. So let's put this in. So if it was just released key 15, then I want to clear LED 3, but I want to set LED 15, and then let's say spacebar pressed. And okay, so let's save this now, and let's see how this works. So let's just compile it, make sure I didn't get any errors. Yep, that looks good. And then I'll press the reset and then the upload. And now let's see. So okay, so everything turned off, so that's good. So it looks like my setup just worked. Now in theory I can press and release 1, and that worked. Let me open up the serial monitor, at least we'll make this active. So let's just try this again. So I did that, yep, enter key. Now if I press this one and release it, spacebar. So that's cool. Okay, so I've basically got those the framework for those keys. So okay, so let's do the next one. So right below this, so 0, 1, 2. So key number 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 and 6 I want to use then to change the upper right kind of workbench shot, to turn that one on and off. So let's look for if trellis dot just released number 0, 1, 2, so number 2, then I want to do a different set. So let's see, I'm just going to copy out this code though, and we'll use this as a starting point. So I want to clear, let's do 2, 6, 10, and 14. And let's see, I want to set number 2 and then clear everything else. And then the key that I want to press for this is number 5. Oh wait, no, sorry. For this left one, I want this to actually turn off. So I want this to be number 6. So we'll say button 6 pressed for this. And then the one next to this, so this should be number 6. I want to do the same logic, but just change which keys turn on and off. So let's do if trellis dot just released number 6. Now I want to clear LED 2 and then set LED number 6, and then everything else in the row clear. And here I want to do button number 5 because this should turn on the upper right workbench shot. So okay, so let's save this and upload it, and then check that this works the way that I expect. So it's uploading, and then okay, everything turns off. So the top row still works. Now down here, if I press that, that turns on, and then if I press the one next to it, that swaps over. I can press these, they don't do anything, but if I press that, it goes back. So okay, so that looks like that's working. And then the next keys below this, I want to do the exact same thing, but for the head in the lower right corner. shot. So this will be key number 1 on the left there. So I'm just going to copy out both of these again because it's going to be really similar. And let's see, now I want to look at number 1, and we want to change, just subtract 1 from all of these. So now I've got that. And then the one next to this will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so number 5. And then I want to clear 1, just subtract 1 from each of these again. And now the buttons I want to press, so the left side should turn off. It looks like this should be number 8 up here. And then to turn it on, the next one over here, it looks like number 7 is what I want to send. So we'll save that. So okay, let's upload this and check that that's working. And then the last thing is just the last row that we'll do. So okay, so that uploaded, so just check top ones up there, that looks good. Those swap around. And the bottom ones down here, those swap around. So that looks good. So that's working. Now the bottom row, I'm going to have this go between the 4 different shots. So I have the headshot, the kind of half desktop, the full workbench, and then the full desktop shot over here. So these, the logic will be really similar to the above. So let's see, I'm just going to copy, let's just copy one of these because I'm going to have to tweak it a little bit and put this down here. So okay, so now, so button 0 is kind of the main one here on this row. So we'll start with that, and then let's subtract 1 from all of these. So 0, 4, 8, and 12. And so this is kind of the basic, kind of the left key. So let me just copy and paste this 3 times. So we'll get all 4 of the keys here. So 1, and let's see, let me fix the spacing of this. Okay, so now let's do, so there's 3 and 4. Okay, so now let's change and let's just go through. So button 0 should be okay. Now let's do button 4 when this one's pressed. And here I want to, oh wait, sorry, let's go back up to button 0. So when button 0 is pressed, I want to set LED 0 and clear everything else. Now when button 4 is pressed, I want to set that and clear everything else. That's fine. Now when button 8 is pressed, we're going to clear everything except for number 8. We'll set that. And then when number 12 is pressed, we will clear everything except for number 12. So okay, so that looks good. Now the buttons that I want it to generate for down here, it looks like I want 1, 2, 3, 4, just going across like that. So button 1, 2, 3, and 4. So okay, so let's save that. Let's compile, make sure that I didn't make a mistake. Okay, that looks good. Now let's upload it, and we'll push it to the device. So okay, cool. So it just uploaded. Now let's see. Okay, we'll test the top row. So I can swap between those. That looks good. The next row, we'll try these. So yeah, that looks like that's working. Switching between those. Then here, I can switch between these. That looks good. And now the last row. So I can do 1, do 2, 3, 4, back to 1. So okay, cool. So that works. And then let's just bring up the serial monitor real quick, just to make sure. So as I press these, yeah, button 3, button 2. This should be the space bar. Yep, space bar, enter key, and then switching these guys around up here. So okay, cool. I think that that's working. So now let's go in and let's see if we can generate these key presses. And actually here I'll delete out the commented code here that I'm not using anymore. So okay, so it's not the prettiest thing in the world, just a bunch of case statements. You could try and make this a little fancier and maybe define each row as an array of button IDs, and then maybe go through and clear each of those individually. But this works. It's simple enough to understand it. I think if I had more trellises, if I had like a big grid, then I'd probably want to start thinking about how do I make this less copy and paste, because there's a lot of duplication here. But it's simple, it works. So okay, so now to use the keyboard, so the Arduino IDE, they actually have a nice little library here. So they have a whole mouse and keyboard library. Now this only works on the 32U4 based processors. So like the Arduino Leonardo, the Feather, we have the Feather 32U4, That's used in a couple different things. And so, it's a real handy little feature where it can act like a USB device and very simple to use. Like they really did a great job of, giving an easy to use library. So it's a keyboard library. You just have to include the keyboard header and then initialize the library. And it really is simple as just calling like keyboard.press and give it a key to press, and it'll emulate that key press. So in theory, really all I need to do is look at their example here and emulate it. So there's also keyboard examples in the Arduino IDE. So let's see, let me open one of these up and we'll just take a quick look at, let's see, USB keyboard, and let's just do like keyboard message and see what this shows. So so you initialize, you include the keyboard.h, you call keyboard.begin, and it looks like here they are printing out like a whole string. So like you press the button, so they're printing that out, and I'm assuming the keyboard would just one by one print out each of these things. So it looks like it's looking at like certain buttons to do this. So okay, so let's just try putting this code into my sketch here. So let's copy out the keyboard include. So we'll add that. And then let's see, now I need to initialize the keyboard library. So let's do keyboard.begin. And now in theory, it's as easy as just going in and putting the key presses that I want inside of here. So I just want to do like keyboard.press. Let's go back to their example code here. So like keyboard.press and control key. So the other thing, I'll put a link in the description too to this page. This is a good page. It tells you for some of the special keys what the defines they are that you have to use in your sketch. So like for the enter key, I want to use key return, and for the space bar, I want to use probably key space somewhere here. I would hope that there's a space bar, or maybe I'm guessing maybe I have to send it like the space character. So we'll try. We'll see what I need to do for this. So okay, so let's do, when the enter key is pressed, let's do keyboard.press, and then that's going a little crazy, the mouse wheel. Okay, now I want to do key return. So if I put that in there, and then for space bar, I'm guessing I need to do the space character. I don't know. Let's see if this is what I need to do, because I don't see a modifier. Let's just search space. Yeah, just see backspace. Okay, so it looks like there's no special key for this. And let's see. So, and let me just go back and just double check. So when it's functions, if a key was pressed and held, useful when using modifiers to end the key press. Use keyboard.release or keyboard.release all. Oh, interesting. Okay, so it looks like actually, and so this is how you can actually press multiple keys at once. So it looks like you can do press Control, press N. So then it's gonna, the keyboard will look like you're pressing Control N, and then you press release. Now I think there's a simpler function. I know I've used this before. So that's what press does. Maybe it's right is what I can use. I thought that there was just like one function that would just do like a press and release basically. This might be it. So send a keystroke. This is similar to pressing and releasing. You can send some ASCII characters or additional keyboard modifiers and special keys. So okay, so I think this is what I really want to use, is the keyboard write function. Okay, so let's try this then. So let's do keyboard.write instead of keyboard.press. So let's do keyboard.press return. Let's do keyboard.write, and let's do keyboard.write for this. And let's just go in and let's do this for all of these. And then what I'll do to test this, I'll open up a text editor. Because I'm only using number keys, enter, and spacebar, I should be able to see, I can like basically type in numbers with this. So okay, so this should send the number 6. So let's do key 6. Let's do, for this one, it should do 5. And we'll go down. So this should do number 8. And let's see, we'll keep going down. This should do number 7. And number 1. Okay, and then these are probably 2, 3, and 4 that are left. So let's just go in here. 2. Uh-oh, scroll up. Okay, go down here, and we'll do 3. And then let's go down here and do 4. So, okay, so in theory, this should make my Leonardo look like a keyboard. So, okay, so that compiles, so let's upload it. And it's always fun when you start using the keyboard because, you know, it's a keyboard connected to your computer. So, like you can see now, it just the Mac just popped up and said, "Oh, it looks like you have a new keyboard." I've never gotten this thing to work. Like, I don't even know what this menu, this thing is supposed to do. I'm sure the engineers at Apple had some great idea for this, but it's just a pain in the butt. I always close it. It does more harm than good from what I've seen. So, okay, so let's open up a text editor. And let's just, okay, yes, this is a new untitled thing. Okay, so now in theory, this bottom row should send, 1, 2, 3, 4 when I press things. So let's do 1. Okay, cool. So 2, 3. Now let's see, this should be spacebar. So yep, that's space. So that's moving the cursor. And this should be enter. So, okay, cool. So that's working. So, okay, so now the big test. Let's jump back to the main desktop view here. Okay, so we've got everything open. Now the other annoying thing with Wirecast, I don't know if it has any way to do a global hotkey. It looks like I actually have to have the Wirecast application selected before any of these hotkeys start to work. So that's kind of a bummer. I don't know if there's a way around that, because ideally I want this to be, anytime I press something, just boom, it's ready to go. And actually here, let me turn on the upper right hand corner here so you can kind of see, as I press things, we'll see what happens. So that's maybe another issue though, where if I redo this with like a Python or an AppleScript thing, maybe I can fix that limitation and have like, my program listen globally to the entire keyboard, when it detects. And in that case, I probably would want to have like Control Shift F1 or something, some key combo that's super uncommon, and then have my program listen for that, have my Leonardo stuff send that, and then when my program detects that, have it talk to Wirecast through its little AppleScript interface and do the scene switching. That would probably get around it. But yeah, overall, I'm just very surprised how limited this functionality is in Wirecast. I mean, maybe it's just something they haven't thought is being very important. So okay, I've got Wirecast selected. So now let's see. Let's see, my buttons are kind of in a weird state right now. So let's go back and I'll press 1. So this should have selected the headshot. And if I press this, it should smoothly fade into it. So let's see what happens. Hey, look at that. It worked. So that's cool. Now let's see. I'm going to go back and I'll do the full desktop view and see if we can fade back. So, that worked. Okay, that's cool. Although now I'm kind of realizing maybe this top row, I should, because these aren't really changing state. It's really more of like, cut versus smooth. So like if I want to do a fast turn the head on in the corner down here, I can do that. And then if I want to turn it off, I can click this and do a fast cut away from there. So that's kind of cool. But let's change our sketch. I'm just going to have it always turn on those upper buttons up here because they aren't really like a state that changes. It's more of just do this action. So, okay, so for the upper left corner, I'm not even going to change any of the LED state. It looks like it's just LED 3 and 15 that I just want to turn on always. So let's just delete these. I'm still going to have it generate the key presses, but here I'm just going to have it turn on. Let's do trellis.setLED3 and trellis.setLED 15. So okay, so let's save that and compile it, and then let's upload it again. So I press that, and it's going to upload. And okay, cool. So now those are on permanently. So okay, so now in theory, I can go through and let's see, okay, so like if I want to turn off the upper workbench shot and then smoothly fade it off, that works. So that's kind of cool. Then maybe if I want to turn it back on, you can't see it, but I just press those keys, so that looks good. And then again, like let's say I want to go to the kind of half desktop view with both of these enabled, and we want to cut to it real fast. Look at that, that's cool, that works. Let's see, let's say I want to go to just the full workbench and turn off everything, and I want to smoothly fade out to that. So that's cool, that works. And then let's say I want to go to desktop, maybe with my head in the corner, and a fast cut to that. So that's cool. I think I would consider that as a success. This looks like it's working pretty well. So you can see it's pretty easy. Let's see. Let me go back to kind of that shot with that. Do that kind of smooth fade out like that. So that's kind of cool. Pretty simple and easy. I'm just using the keyboard shortcuts in Wirecast, having the Arduino Leonardo generate all those key presses. I can put this thing inside of the box. So let's see. Let's jump to the full workbench. Let's see. Let's turn off that. We'll do a quick. Oh wait, that's desktop. That's the workbench. Let's do that. So now in theory I can put this inside of the case here, and I don't have this hooked up very well, so I might actually pull out a wire on accident. So I didn't really assemble this well, and you can see all of my wires aren't colored. So let's see if I can kind of jam this in without losing any of the connections. Kind of very gently put this in. Kind of slowly get in there. There we go. I think that's in. And then the top here I can put on, so this kind of fits in place. And it's a little bit of a tight fit, but okay. Almost in there. They're like little indentations I need to latch up with. There we go. I think I got it. Okay, now hopefully all of the buttons. Did I not? I didn't do the right shot. I changed this shot actually. There we go. So now you can kind of see. There's the main thing. Let's go back to that and turn on everything else and press that. There we go. So we're back to normal here. So that's kind of cool. Just a quick little project I wanted to do to basically show, here's a real simple way. If you have a program that you want to automate in some way, the Arduino, the 32U4, like the Leonardo or the Feather boards and things, they're a great option to use for that. Super easy to use, the Arduino keyboard library. It can also emulate a mouse. And I think there are other human input devices that it can also emulate. Like, let's see if they mention anything in the library. So it's keyboard. I don't see anything else, but it's the 32U4 itself. I think it can act like lots of different USB devices. But yeah, I just wanted to make a little simple. It's kind of like a one-way device right now, where it's only sending the key presses. It's not getting any feedback. What I'd love to have is these buttons here actually be tied to Wirecast, so that they only turn on when Wirecast has that shot live. But for now, I think this kind of works. I just saw, the button box is up on the Adafruit Thingiverse page. So the button box, this is just 3D printed, and it's this great little guide that Noah and Pedro did, I think a couple years ago or so now. But it's has all the parts in here. You can print it out and put it together. So very very easy to do. So I think that's all that I want to do. Are they single color buttons, is the question, or RGB? They're just single color buttons. Trellis only works with single color LEDs. It's the Trellis itself. It's actually just the Holtec HTK 1633 or something. It's a simple little LED driver, but there aren't enough outputs on it to do like RGB LEDs. Although maybe it could be interesting to think about. Like, I know there's the new Charlieplex LED driver that we have. So that could be maybe interesting to think of, trying to do like a Trellis version of that. But that's it. So I don't know if people have questions, maybe throw them in the chat here. I will use the scene switcher. Maybe we'll change to the main headshot and turn off everything else. I'll do a fast cut to it. Oh, there we go. Maybe I think I lost a. That's right. I don't have Wirecast selected as I'm pressing all these buttons. So that's going to trip me up forever. So I need to eventually fix this. So okay, let's turn these all on and do a fast cut. There we go, back to the headshot. So I think that'll do it. I think I don't see any questions here. So thanks a lot for watching. Have a great Easter. Happy Easter, by the way. Tune in to youtube.com/Adafruit, and you can watch. This video will be archived there. All kinds of other fun project videos. Tune into twitch.tv/Adafruit, and you can watch different live streams. I stream to twitch.tv. Sometimes we also stream to YouTube. Just depends on how much bandwidth that we have. Like, I don't have a ton of bandwidth. So yes, subscribe, like, comment, do all the social media stuff. Thanks for watching, and actually tune in tomorrow. I'll do a little Raspberry Pi live stream. Just kind of want to follow up and do some fun stuff. try out some fun software. So I wanted to play with, I saw that Amazon has their Alexa voice service kind of demo code. So I was thinking tomorrow to try that out with the Raspberry Pi and see what it takes to get that running. And then Friday next week, I'll do the third part in the Raspberry Pi Internet Things series. So we'll kind of keep going with that. So thanks a lot. Have a great day. Happy Easter.